Class 12, Unit 10 Ecology. Ramdeo Mishra 1908 to 1998. He is also known as Father of Ecology in India. Chapter 11 Organisms and Populations. You have already learned in previous classes that ecology is a subject which studies the interactions among organisms and between the organism and its physical, that is abiotic environment. Ecology is basically concerned with four levels of biological organization, that is organisms, populations, communities and biomes. In this chapter we will explore ecology at population levels. 11.1 Populations. 11.1.1 Population Attributes. In nature, we rarely find isolated single individual of any species. Majority of them live in groups in a well-defined geographical area, share or compete for similar resources, potentially interbreed and thus constitute a population. Although the term interbreeding implies sexual reproduction, a group of individuals resulting from even asexual reproduction is also generally considered a population for the purpose of ecological studies. All the cormorants in a wetland, rats in an abandoned dwelling, teakwood trees in a forest tract, and bacteria in a culture plate, and lotus plants in a pond are some example of a population. In earlier chapters, you have learned that although an individual organism is the one that has to cope with a changed environment, it is at the population level that natural selection operates to evolve the desired traits. Population ecology is therefore an important area because it links ecology to population genetics and evolution. A population has certain attributes whereas an individual organism does not. An individual may have birth and death, but a population has birth rates and death rates. In a population, these rates are referred to per capita birth and death. The rates hence expressed are change in numbers, that is increase or decrease with respect to members of the population. If in a pond there were 20 lotus plants last year and through reproduction 8 new plants are added, taking the current population to 28, we calculate the birth rate as 8 upon 20, which gives 0.4 offsprings per lotus per year. If 4 individuals in a laboratory population of 40 fruit flies died during a specified time interval, say a week, the death rate in the population during that period is 4 upon 40, that gives 0.1 individuals per fruit fly per week. Another attribute characteristic of a population is sex ratio. An individual is either a male or a female, but a population has a sex ratio. Example, 60% of the population are females and 40% males. A population at any given time is composed of individuals of different ages. If the age distribution, that is percent individuals of a given age or age group, is plotted for the population, the resulting structure is called an age pyramid, figure 11.1. For human population, the age pyramids generally show age distribution of males and females in a diagram. The shape of the pyramid reflects the growth status of the population, that is number A, whether it is growing or expanding, number B, stable, or number C, declining. The size of the population tells us a lot about its status in the habitat. Whatever ecological processes we wish to investigate in a population, be it the outcome of competition with another species, the impact of a predator, or the effect of pesticide application, we always evaluate them in terms of any change in the population size. The size in nature could be as low as less than 10 Siberian cranes at Bharatpur wetlands in any year, or go into millions. Its example is Chlamydomonas in a pond. Population size, technically called population density, designated as capital N, need not necessarily be measured in numbers only, although total number is generally the most appropriate measure of a population density. It is in some cases either meaningless or difficult to determine. In an area, if there are 200 carrot grass plants, carrot grass scientific name is Parthenium hysterophorus, So if there are 200 carrot grass plants but only a single huge banyan tree with a large canopy, stating that the population density of banyan is low relative to that of carrot grass amounts to underestimating the enormous role of banyan in that community. In such cases, the percent cover or biomass is a more meaningful measure of the population size. Total number is again not an easily adoptable measure if the population is huge and counting is impossible or very time consuming. If you have a dense laboratory culture of bacteria in a petri dish, what is the best measure to report its density? Sometimes, for certain ecological investigations, there is no need to know the absolute population densities. Relative densities serve the purpose equally well. For instance, the number of fish caught per trap is good enough measure of its total population density in the lake. We are mostly obliged to estimate population sizes indirectly without actually counting them or seeing them. The tiger census in our national parks and tiger reserves is often based on pug marks and fecal pellets. 11.1.2 Population growth. The size of a population for any species is not a static parameter. It keeps changing with time depending on various factors including food availability, predation pressures, and adverse weather. In fact, it is these changes in population density that gives us some idea of what is happening to the population, whether it is flourishing or declining. Whatever might be the ultimate reasons, the density of a population in a given habitat during a given period fluctuates due to changes in four basic processes, two of which, natality and immigration, contribute to an increase in population density, and the rest two, that is mortality and immigration, to a decrease. Number 1, natality, refers to the number of birth during a given period in population that are added to the initial density. Number 2, mortality, is the number of death in the population during a given period. Number 3 is immigration. It is the number of individuals of the same species that have come into the habitat from elsewhere during the time period under consideration. And last, number 4 is immigration, is the number of individuals of the population who left the habitat and gone elsewhere during the time period under consideration. So if capital N is the population density at time t, then its density at time t plus 1 is given as nt plus 1 is equal to nt plus b plus I minus d plus e. You can see from the above equation, that is figure 11.2, that population density will increase if the number of births plus the number of immigrants, that is B plus I, is more than the number of death plus the number of emigrants, that is D plus E. Under normal conditions, birth and death are the most important factors influencing population density. The other two factors assuming importance only under special conditions. For instance, if a new habitat is just been colonized, immigration may contribute more significantly to population growth than birth rates. Growth models. Does the growth of a population with time show any specific and predictable pattern? Unbridled human population growth and the problems created by it in our country, and it is therefore natural for us to be curious if different animal populations in nature behave the same way or show some restraints on growth. Perhaps we can learn a lesson or two from nature on how to control population growth. Number 1, exponential growth or geometric growth. Resource, that is food and space availability, is obviously essential for the unimpeded growth of a population. Ideally, when resources in the habitat are unlimited, each species has the ability to realize fully its innate potential to grow in number, as Darwin observed while developing his theory of natural selection. Then the population grows in an exponential or geometric fashion. If in a population of size capital N, the birth rates, not total number but per capita birth, are represented as a small b, and death rates again per capita death rates as a small d, then the increase or decrease in capital N that is size of the population, during a unit time period small t, that is dn by dt, will be dn by dt is equal to b minus d into n. Let b minus d is equal to r, then dn by dt, that is the rate, is equal to r into n. The r in this equation is called the intrinsic rate of natural increase and is a very important parameter chosen for assessing impacts of any biotic or abiotic factor on population growth. To give you some idea about the magnitude of R values, for the Norway rat the R is 0.015 and for the floor beetle it is 0.12. In 1981, the R value for human population in India was 0.0205. Find out what the current R value is. For calculating it, you need to know the birth rates and death rates. The above equation describes the exponential or geometric growth pattern of a population, figure 11.3, and results in a J-shaped curve when we plot n in relation to time. If you are familiar with basic calculus, you can derive the integral form, that is the integrated equation of the exponential growth equations, as nt is equal to n naught e to the power rt, where nt is population density after time t, n naught is population density at time 0, small r is intrinsic rate of natural increase, and e is the base of natural logarithms and its value is 2.71828. Any species growing exponentially under unlimited resource conditions can reach enormous population densities in a short time. Darwin showed how even a slow growing animal like elephant could reach enormous number in the absence of checks. The following is an anecdote popularly narrated to demonstrate dramatically how fast a huge population could build up when growing exponentially. Number 2, logistic growth. No population of any species in nature has at its disposal unlimited resources to permit exponential growth. This leads to competition between individuals for limited resources. Eventually, the fittest individual will survive and reproduce. The governments of many countries have also realized this fact and introduced various restraints with a view to limit human population growth. In nature, a given habitat has enough resources to support a maximum possible number beyond which no further growth is possible. Let us call this limit as nature's carrying capacity, capital K, for that species in that habitat. A population growing in a habitat with limited resources saw initially a lag phase followed by phases of acceleration and deceleration and finally an asymptote when the population density reaches the carrying capacity. A plot of n in relation to time t results in a sigmoid curve, that is S-shape curved. This type of population growth is called Verhulst per logistic growth, figure 11.3, and is described by the following equation: dn by dt is equal to rn k minus n by k, where capital N is again population density at time t, small r is again intrinsic rate of natural increase, and k is carrying capacity. Since resources for growth for most animal populations are finite and become limiting sooner or later, the logistic growth model is considered a more realistic one. Gather from government census data the population figures for India for the last 100 years, plot them and check which growth pattern is evident.